And this is where kind of the copilot really comes in. It can listen into the call, it can understand the context of what's happening. So let's say there's a car that's run into a late and the person is going to have to break the window. The AI can recognize this. It can go ahead and look up in the instruction manual from the manufacturer exactly what to do, surface that information so that the 911 operator can focus just on that. Having that AI in the product is really what allows us to consolidate all that data to the most important information.
Bear with me as I attempt to stick the landing here, but I do feel that what you're doing for 911 operators is in many ways what FP&A team, something we're both passionate about, should be doing for executives in terms of surfacing the right information at the right time.
If you look at just what's happened across Rapid SOS, the number of data points that we have that are coming into the availability of data into the finance team. Before it was maybe a lot of the Salesforce data, and then you get a little bit of data from maybe the PDE team on their Jira tickets and things like that. Now we have connected devices and we can pull all the analytics from that help us understand decision making, where we need to make a better product. You start looking at the CS teams, everything they're out there working with the customer on in the field. They have AI on all their calls now, so all these calls are recorded. The amount of analytics we're getting from that to really understand what the true problems our customers are having that we're trying to solve. You start looking at Zendesk and all of the now AI tickets that are being handled there, where before you had a human relating some of this stuff back to you, now you don't. It's all in tickets with tons of data. We're just getting a plethora of data that's coming into the finance team. And that is one of the challenges we have. What data is it that really matters, that is producing the signal, and what is the noise?
5 years ago, I felt like I was just dealing with financial data and sales data. I was in the CRM, I was in the HRIS, I had the financial data. There wasn't as much product data, but everything that you're rattling off now, the majority of that is actually stuff that's upstream from the P&L.
We get all that. And for us, really, what is the signal through the noise? It's not becoming about how do you create a dashboard that just shows numbers. It's about how do you really sort through all of the different data coming in to really understand, especially at the time of need that the division is currently at, what is most important to them in that situation. As companies evolve and grow, the needs of data are different at each inflection point. And so then being able to come back and say, okay, now I have this abundant data. What do I really focus on for the current needs of the company? That's really hard to suss out in some of these cases.
What's a common failure mode here when there's so much data?
One of the big things we've been solving is the cleanliness of data. Pollution is something that the more polluted your data, the harder it is to really understand how much you can trust it. And especially with the advent of AI, putting a lot of information in the system, did it get it right? And so I think there's a lot more pollution that we're seeing as we get more of this data. And a lot of that's we're thinking, how do we really pay attention to where that source of truth is? And how do we solve that pollution at the source of truth? But then also, how do we think of data in levels? So what is data that is really trustworthy and trusted? And then how do we think down to, okay, what is just new data that we've now put in? We really have to work through it, understand what it means, what it tells us, how trustworthy it is. Let's not just jump in and see a new data stream and assume it's all right. Let's really get in and analyze it, understand it, because there probably are things that we have to work through to refine it to make it where it really gives the intelligence that our model needs.
It sounds like your company's been on quite the data journey here.
We're a data product, and that's really what the power of our network is. How do we pull all this data into one place to better inform these decisions? It's the same thing with our company. As we scale, really we have our 3 different platforms. We focus on our large enterprise customers, our 911 operations centers, and our first responders. Each one of them produce a unique set of data. And whether it's the go-to-market motion, whether it's the product we're building, down to how we're supporting and engaging our users, we have to really understand also how those are all interconnected. So, if you look at a typical enterprise model, a lot of what our enterprise customers like is that we're connected in basically 99% of the ECCs across the United States. So if we make a decision on our ECC platform to maybe try to monetize a feature, but it decreases the number of people on the platform, now our enterprise customers don't have as much value. And so the interconnectedness of all that data is also something that really we have to focus on as we try to stitch all this together.
Richard, what did your data stack look like early on versus today?
Early on, we looked a lot like most of the early startup companies would. When I came in 3 years ago, it was mainly spreadsheets we were using. I remember we started mapping some of the processes from getting data from Salesforce to ultimately our ARR queue. There were about 10 different steps that it went through in different spreadsheets to ultimately get it to that end result. And I think this is what you would normally expect. At that point, product market fit wasn't fully where we needed it to be. And so we needed to have much more flexibility in the system. It wasn't like we could go in and plumb data through the entire system because we didn't know what it would look like at the end. And through that process, as we've gotten that product market fit, as we've seen repeatable sales processes, repeatable contracts, we've been able to now plummet where Salesforce CPQ is the main place most of our CRM and contractual data lives. That all then goes through to NetSuite, where we use Zone Billing to do all of our invoicing and revenue recognition. And then ultimately, we pump all that information through to Abacum, which is our visualization layer for that.
We're big fans of Abacum. Do you wish that you built this BI layer sooner?
That's a good question. I think there are two sides to this. So the first thing is right now we're at a point at the company where everybody is demanding better intelligence. And I think that's how we know we definitely are a little too late. But from the other side of this, we probably couldn't have been earlier in this. And there's true reasons that waiting has probably been beneficial to us. Number one, in any high growth company, you have limited capital. Most of our capital went to how do we go to market motion and how do we build a better product. And so for us, investing that capital into a BI function in the earlier days probably wasn't there. But number two, we didn't really have the right system set up. And so your BI tool is only as good as the data that you put into it.
Hey, founders and finance folks, you know how early on everything is fast and scrappy, and then suddenly equity gets messy? Spreadsheets break, grant docs pile up, lawyers are sending new forms and collecting fees. It all shows up right about when you're already swamped. Well, if managing your cap table feels like one more frustrating thing on a very long to-do list, you need to know about Pulley. Pulley makes equity management simple and stress-free. You can issue options, model dilution, complete 409As, and more. All in one place with support from real experts when you need it. So if you're raising, hiring, or scaling, Pulley keeps your cap table clean so you can stay focused on building, not wrangling spreadsheets. Learn more, request a demo at pulley.com/mostlymetrics. That is PULLEY.com/mostlymetrics.